Hello everyone, welcome to my channel if you're new here, and if you're returning, welcome back. For today's video, I decided to do the mid-year book freakout tag. I have been seeing so many of my favorite booktubers doing this and it looked like so much fun, so I decided I would give it a try and hopefully you like some of the books that I name. If any of the books that I name in this video happen to be your favorite, or a book that you are thinking about reading or anything like that, please let me know. And if you have book suggestions, please leave them down below because I'm just always looking to make my TBR longer. So the first question of this tag is, what are the best books you've read so far in 2024? And that would definitely have to be the Serpent and Dove series by Shelby Morin and the Cursebreaker series by Bridget Kammerer, I think that's how you pronounce it. These series are so good. I remember I read the Cursebreaker series first and I loved it. If you guys didn't know, this is like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but the main character has cerebral palsy, which was really interesting. I actually liked that there was kind of like some representation with that there. It was really cool. And the Serpent and Dove series, I will have to say, of these books in these series, I definitely loved A Curse So Dark and Lonely and A Heart So Fierce and Broken in the series. But I didn't really like A Vow So Bold and Deadly as much. I don't know, like, honestly, this book was kind of harder for me to get through. It took me a really long time and I found myself just bored the whole time. But for A Curse So Dark and Lonely, I completely devoured those books. It was kind of weird. And something similar happened with the Serpent and Dove series. Same thing. I loved the first book. Oh my gosh, it was so good. And I really liked that it had to do with like witches and witch hunters. I don't know, I feel like that's not really, maybe from the books I read, I just don't see that a lot. And I definitely need to start reading stuff about witches and stuff. But yeah, I really love this book. And then following that, Blood and Honey is the sequel, and I really like this one too. Honestly, the first one's just going to be my favorite just because I honestly couldn't find anything wrong with this book. I literally just couldn't put it down. Blood and Honey was really good. I'm going to be honest though, I don't remember too much about it, but I really love the whole concept of like witches and witch hunters, and then like rebels and stuff. Like, the concept of magic in this book is really cool, and I think it's really original, so that was nice. But sadly, I really was bored with Gods and Monsters, which is the third and final book in the series. I just found that it just wasn't getting my attention towards the second half of the book. I think the first half of the book I was completely interested in what happened, and then I don't know, I think I just got kind of bored with the main character, which is really sad. All the other characters were great, but I find that sometimes in series that are like trilogies and stuff, it always seems like the main character goes downhill. Maybe it's just the books that I've read, but that always seemed to happen, except for the Cursebreaker series. I didn't have any problem with that. So the next question is, what is the best sequel that I read in 2024? And that would have to be A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This book is so, I think I have like a soft spot for this book. I think the first book and this one, which is like I said, the second book, is honestly my favorites in the series. I think in a previous video I said the third one was my favorite, but honestly, looking back on it, I do kind of miss when Tamlin was like likable, and it definitely goes downhill from here for that. But I don't know, I feel like there's just something so, like, I guess like nostalgic about it. I don't know, I feel like Sarah J. Maas really did such a good job with this series and with this book specifically. Like, I found myself definitely being confused with who to root for, and like, oh, but Tamlin, like he was there in the first book and he was so amazing. Like, why is Rhysand just, making me so confused, which clearly was the point. But I don't know, I just really loved reading this book, and like with it being the beginning of the series, just thinking, who do I want Feyre to end up with? What is Tamlin going to be like towards the end of the book? What is Rhysand going to be like towards the end of the book? Like, I just remember, like, this was such an innocent time in the series, I guess. And I don't know, this would just always be my favorite, and I'm really, really happy that I got to read the series, even though if you look at my previous videos, I did kind of like talk crap on A Court of Silver Flames. Everything else in the series is honestly gold, and honestly, I would reread this. So yeah. So the next question is, what is a new release that you haven't read yet but want to? And I actually have 3. So I have The Dangerous Ones, which came out May 14th, 2024. I have Heartless Hunter, which came out February of 2024, and Castle of the Cursed, which doesn't come out until July 2024, which I didn't know, but I have an ARC. So it's okay. Actually, both of these, both of these are ARCs, but I am really excited for all of these. I think the one that I am the most excited for would definitely have to be Castle of the Cursed, because I know it has to do with, like, I think it's like a haunted house or something, like something really, really creepy. And I'm sorry, a haunted castle. It's clearly in the title, sorry. Yeah, it's like a haunted castle, and I don't know, like, it kind of, I love the tagline is the house is always hungry. So I don't know, maybe it has vampires, maybe it's something sinister going on. I mean, but I don't know. And I love that it says on the back, actually, Mexican Gothic meets Dracula and Romina Garber's delicious bloodthirsty romantasy breakout. So yeah, I'm just going to assume it's vampires. And that's really, really cool. I don't have a lot of vampire books. I think the last vampire book I had was like Twilight or the Shadow Falls series, but that it doesn't center completely around vampires. So I think this will be really, really interesting, and I definitely have been meaning to like get back into like vampires and werewolves and stuff. So that's really, really cool. As far as The Dangerous Ones, this is a romantasy, and it takes place in 1863 Pennsylvania, which I thought was interesting because I actually live in Pennsylvania, and I feel like a lot of stuff, like movies and books and stuff, are just not set during that time. So I think that's kind of cool. And as far as this book actually has vampires in it. I mean, I might have to move my TBR around so that I can read these books, because I just don't know what it is. I always preferred vampires over werewolves. So like with Twilight, I was clearly Team Edward. And then Heartless Hunter. I actually don't know much about this one, honestly. I know it's book 1 in a series, and book 2, like, the cover already came out. I'm not sure when I'm gonna get it. As far as this book, it's a romantasy. I'm kind of seeing a theme here. I definitely see a theme here, and I don't know exactly what this one is about. Like, yeah, I didn't really read the synopsis, but I'm gonna figure it out. I'm really, really excited to kind of go into this one kind of blind, and I definitely plan to do reading vlogs for these. I definitely plan to do reading vlogs for a lot of my books, honestly. Like, anything that I haven't read, I'm probably going to make a video about it at this point. But yeah, these are my most anticipated reads. So the next question is, what are your most anticipated releases for the second half of the year? And the first one would definitely have to be Such Charming Liars by Karen McManus, who did One of Us is Lying and One of Us is Next. I really, really love her books. I devour all of them. I want to buy all of them. I think she has made me like really, really like the mystery type genre, like her and Holly Jackson, like mystery thriller type of stuff. And I don't know, it's just something about like her writing and stuff in her books that's like, it's just so fun and it's so hard to put down. So I already know I'm going to love this book when it comes out. So that's exciting. The next release that I'm excited for is The Songbird and the Heart of Stone. Yes, that's what it's called. And it comes out November 19th, 2024. And that is the, I don't know if it's the last book in the Crowns of Nixia series, but it's the third book, and I'm really, really excited for it because when that comes out, then I can read these. I don't know. I just want to kind of wait for it, but I'm really, really excited. And I think Heartstoppers Volume 5 and 6 by Alice Oseman, and A Study in Drowning. I don't know why I'm so interested in the study of drowning. I think I saw like an arc of it months ago and I just fell in love with the cover, and I think from the synopsis that I read a long time ago, I think it's like dark academia vibes, which is really up my alley, and I feel like I only ever read like dark academia stuff like on like Wattpad and stuff, so I really want to like get into collecting them and reading them, and I don't know, it's just something about A Study in Drowning that just looks up my alley, and I feel like that's going to definitely be like my new favorite, so that's just something. So the next question is, what is your biggest disappointment of the year? So the first book is Blood Marked, and then Things We Never Got Over. I am going to talk about Blood Marked first, which is the sequel to Legendborn, only because I literally gave those books away because that's how disappointed in the series I was. I loved Legendborn. I think it was so cool. Like, I loved that it took place in college, and I loved like the whole like other world, there's like magic and stuff and creatures. Like, I really thought that was really cool, and I really loved how everything was set up. But as far as Blood Marked, I found everything to be so much slower, and like I honestly found myself just really bored. I was skimming at a few scenes. There were times where like I would kind of like space out and have to reread certain pages and stuff, and it was kind of to the point where I just DNF'd it altogether, and then I gave the series to my friend because I just couldn't get into it, and I was really disappointed because the first book was so good that I thought I found my new favorite series, and that really sucks. And then the second most disappointing read is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. This is my first and last Lucy Score book. I mean, I have the other two books in the Knock 'Em Out series, but I really don't know if I want to read them now after this train wreck that I literally ended up DNFing. And I actually folded the page. I DNF'd it at chapter 23, Knocks Knocks Who's There, which just that right there is extremely cringy. Page 238. Yeah, I found myself struggling to get through this book. The first, I want to say like 50 pages, I was actually really interested. I thought it was really cool, but there were just a lot of things in this book as the story went on that kind of like I slowly ended up hating it, and it ended up becoming extremely cringy to the point where reading this book kind of felt like a chore because I planned to read all 3 books like around the same time, but because this book was so bad to me. I literally just refused to pick up the other two. And I know that's bad because I literally already have them. And maybe one day I'll try them again because I know each book takes place in a different place and there are different main characters in every book. But I don't know. I just think this was not a good first introduction to Lucy Score or the Knockabout series in general, which is really, really upsetting because I was hearing so many good things on TikTok, and I think after this book, like, I definitely felt like I'm gonna have to be a little more pickier as far as like what TikTok considers good on, like, as far as romance. As far as like fantasies and stuff, I still trust it, but yeah, it's just something about the romance genre on like TikTok, Booktok, that it's so iffy to me. Yeah, so sorry. Things We Never Got Over. Disappointing. Never going to read it again. So the next question is, what is the book that surprised you the most? And I talked about this book before, but it would definitely be And Don't Look Back by Rebecca Barrow. I'm going to be honest, the first half of this book really intrigued me, and then towards the middle, it got really wonky, and it was kind of hard for me to pay attention, but I pushed through it, and I ended up really, really loving it. I don't really have a lot of thrillers, but that's literally what this is, and I guess it would be considered a mystery, too. And Don't Look Back by Rebecca Barrow, I loved that there were just so many like twists and turns and stuff, and I love, even though I was confused at times, I feel like it kept me at the edge of my seat, and I found that I just always wanted to know more about this book, and I think I kind of went through this book really, really fast. I mean, it's not a lot of pages, but I think the fact that I was just so intrigued the whole time, and I was like, what is the point? Like, what is the big, mystery? I think it was written so well, and I definitely want to read more Rebecca Barrow books. I'm not really sure if she has any more out yet. I think this was like her debut book, but I'm actually not sure. But I just know that I need more thrillers and mystery books now. And honestly, I would reread this just to see if I can kind of I guess like see the clues and stuff ahead of time. Because yeah, I feel like this book kind of like threw me through the ringer in like the best way possible. So the next question is, who is your new favorite author? And that would definitely have to be Sarah J. Maas and Hallie Black. I first want to say Sarah J. Maas used to intimidate me a lot. I started reading Crescent City first in the SJM universe, and I definitely regret it. I wish I would have started with this series because it is like, I get, like, people always say this was her easiest series to like jump into, and I haven't read Throne of Glass yet, but comparing it to Crescent City, I definitely do think this was a much lighter and easier story to follow, and it was just way easier to read. And I don't know, I really, really love how she builds her world in so much detail, and I don't know what it is about like fae and fairies and stuff, but like I really, really love it, and that kind of relates to Hallie Black, the Cruel Prince. I love this book. This was it's honestly my favorite book in the series, and then The Queen of Nothing is my least favorite because I found myself just getting really, really bored with it. But I definitely think Hallie Black is my new auto-buy author. I definitely plan to buy like The King of Elfane and some of her other books too, because I don't know, like, this was so fun, and I'm really, really happy that I bought this series because, like, honestly, I was a little intimidated. I heard nothing but good things on TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that, but I don't know. I personally felt like this was going to be something that I would find really boring, but I found that I finished this book really, really fast. I would say everything was a nice pace, and this is kind of, at first I thought it was going to be like enemies to lovers and stuff. Not necessarily, like the enemies part is definitely there. And I think this is a really, really fun series, and I honestly want to reread it, mainly so I can read A Queen of Nothing because, like I said, I DNF'd it. I got bored with it. But I want to try it again. I don't think I was in the right headspace when I read A Queen of Nothing. Yeah, but personally, Sarah J. Maas and Holly Black, yes, my new favorite authors. So the next question is, who is your newest fictional crush? And I actually have two. So the first one is James Herondale from The Last Hours, which is also Chain of Gold, and Baxian from Crescent City. I want to talk about James first because I feel like nothing can replace James. Like, no one. I personally could not finish the last book in the Last Hour series, but the only thing that really kept me going was like Cordelia and James. And I feel like James overall, like out of all the books that I've read, he is kind of like the standard for me. Like, he's so, I guess I don't want to say romantic, but like he's definitely, like, you could tell he was written by a woman. Like he's one of those characters. Like, if you ever heard that phrase before. And I always loved how Cassandra Clare wrote the men in her books, and the women, but I don't know, it's just something about the men, like, it's so hard not to fall for them. And that is my favorite thing about this series. Granted, the story itself, I just couldn't finish with the last book, but I don't know, I definitely found myself, like, just kicking my feet and, like, screaming internally whenever James and Cordelia were, like, in a scene together alone, because he's just so amazing. And especially in the last book, where, you know, you could see like the pictures in the books, and it's just something about seeing them together. I always just loved how he treated her, and like how he treated Cordelia, and how he talked to Cordelia, like about her and just anything. Like, he just always respected her, and I don't know, it's just so cute. And then next would definitely be Baxian from the Crescent City series. I don't know, like, I was kind of tied between Baxian and Hunt, to be honest, but I don't know, there's just something about how even after, like, Danica, like, you know, kicked the bucket and is now, like, in the afterlife, he still remained loyal to her, especially in this book. Like, in this book specifically, like, whenever Baxian would talk about Danica, you could just always tell that they really cared about each other, and that, you know, like, he was just always fighting for her. And I don't know why, but that's just so cute. And just, I don't know, I think Sarah J. Maas did a really good job writing Baxian. And honestly, like, he's not the main character, but I low-key wish he was, because of how he was written. I found myself just kind of caring about him a lot, and I wanted to know more about his backstory, and more about, like, him and Danica and stuff. So yeah, whenever Baxian popped up, I just found myself, like, I definitely perked up, definitely, when he was there. And I definitely just found myself, like, just not caring about Bryce as much as I did the guys, which is kind of, like, crazy, but yeah. So the next question is kind of similar to the last one, and this one is, who is your new favorite characters? And I would definitely have to say Jude from The Cruel Prince, and Harper from A Curse So Dark and Lonely. I almost forgot her name. I'm going to talk about Jude first. So I love Jude because she was so strong, and it always seemed like I hated the bullying scenes, but I'm happy that she never let that stop her. And I kind of liked that, you know, she was kind of slowly trying to seek vengeance on everyone who, like, picked on her and, like, tortured her. Like, I don't know, it kind of just, I feel like she could be a good example as far as, like, you know, not to let people, you know, bring you down, and don't, you know, listen to things that people say. And you know, things like that. And I don't know, like, it's just something about how sneaky she was that just, like, I just loved it. And then next, oh, would definitely be Harper from A Curse So Dark and Lonely. I really love Harper because of how strong she was. With her cerebral palsy, I'm happy that, like, the author didn't let that, I guess, be a burden to her, I guess. Like, honestly, it was kind of used as something that made her stronger. I found that she was definitely a fighter and she definitely didn't take anything from anyone, especially the prince. And I don't know, I loved how just, like, headstrong she was. She wasn't, like, a stereotypical, like, damsel in distress at all. um if anything, that was, like, if anything, that was the prince in this story. And I don't know, it's just something about that just, it just was so cool to me. And I just loved everything, like, watching her, like, go through her journey in this strange world where she was ultimately kidnapped. And, like, it was just something so interesting about it. And I was always, like, when I was reading it, I was wondering, like, you know, if I was in that situation, would I do the things that she would do? Like, I don't know. But yeah, definitely my favorites. Next question is, what is a book that made me happy so far this year? And that would definitely be Arya Khanna's Bollywood Moment. I talked about this already, but I will say I really thought this was cute, and this is the book that is making me want to read romances. I think this was nice. It was set in high school, which I know for a lot of people could be weird, but it was really lighthearted, so I think it was okay. It was kind of like enemies to lovers, academic rivals more so. And it was so cute. Like, I don't know, it was something about, like, the representation of it. Like, the main character is Indian American, and I love that the author who wrote this book, who is also Indian American, made sure to note, like, traditional, like, Indian dishes and movies, like Bollywood movies and things like that, and kind of, like, keep that in the story. But I also just found the love to be cute. I love the friendship aspect too, even though it wasn't the best, like, as far as, like, the main character Arya, her friends kind of sucked. But I feel like it's kind of realistic for it to be in high school. Like, people are fake sometimes, and people are finding themselves, and, you know, you're not going to be friends with everyone, like, your entire life. So, like, things like that I really liked in the story. And honestly, I want to reread it because I think this book was so cute, and I read it so fast too, which is another reason why I want to get into, like, more romances, because I don't know, especially after reading so many fantasies, it's something so nice about seeing a book this short. It just looks really appealing. So the next question is, what is your favorite book to movie adaptation and I've seen this year and or read? And that would definitely have to be Turtles All the Way Down. I didn't read the book, but I watched it and I honestly loved it. It was like OCD representation and then anxiety. And the movie actually really made me want to read the book because I thought it was kind of interesting to, like, go into the mind of somebody who goes through that every day. Like, I think it was a really good depiction of, like, how exhausting it can be to just never, I guess, relax, you know? Like, it just seemed like something, like, it just made me wonder, like, how many people around me have OCD and anxiety, and, like, you know, what can you do, like, as far as, like, being friends with someone who goes through that? Like, I really like the friendship dynamic in that movie. So yeah, I definitely want to pick up that book. So the next question is, what are the most beautiful books that I've acquired this year? And there's actually a couple. So the first one's is a trilogy, the Carry On trilogy by Rainbow Rowell. So Carry On, Wayward Son, and Any Way the Wind Blows. I think these covers are so freaking nice. And I remember when I unboxed these, I thought it was so cool. Like, I already knew a little bit about the Carry On series because I read the first one. I just never read the other two. But I didn't know that, you know, it kind of got like a really, really nice upgrade. So that's fun. And it honestly just makes me want to read it even more. And then next is Ferryman, Trespassers, and Outcast. Outcast. These are beautiful. I won these in a giveaway and I forgot about it. So when I like received these and unboxed these, oh, it was so beautiful. And I don't know, they're not big at all. I don't know why I thought they were going to be bigger. I didn't read them yet. But honestly, I really want to read them, and honestly, I didn't even really know what they were about until after I got them. I just saw the covers and I was like, these are beautiful. But yeah, these are kind of like my prized possessions, and oh, they just look so good like on my shelf. Next, The Serpent and the Wings of Night and The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I think these just look really, really beautiful, and this is a hardcover. So I kind of like freaked out when I saw this, and I never like hardcovers, I'm gonna be honest, but this looks so nice, especially this. And it basically says, love is a sacrifice at the altar of power. And then the last cover that I personally think is just so beautiful is Fangirl. I read this book in middle school, I think, or high school, like freshman year. Completely forgot about it. So then when I received this book, I freaked out. I had no idea. This is like the 10th anniversary edition. I didn't know that was a thing. So when I received this, I just completely flipped out. This says, read to me, sweetheart. And then there's like coffee, and okay, yeah, they both have coffee. I don't know, it takes place in a university, which is very refreshing to me personally, because I feel like a lot of my stuff either takes place in high school, in like, I read a lot of fantasy, so a lot of like kingdoms and things like that. So it's kind of nice that this is like just a normal book. And yeah, I love that it takes place in college. From what I remember, this was like a college student during her first year, and she was kind of struggling, and she was writing fan fiction, which honestly it's kind of funny because I think it kind of correlates to the Carry On series. I think she was writing it in this, and I don't know, it was really, really cool. It was kind of like her coping mechanism. And yeah, I'm really, really excited to read this again and see if I still like it, because this was my favorite book when I read it at first. So okay, so the next question is, what books do I need to read by the end of the year? And there's actually a couple, but not too many, that I think I could realistically finish by December. And the first two are Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I actually plan to do reading vlogs on these once I'm finished with House of Flame and Shadow. So I'm going to read these really, really soon, basically, considering I'm almost done. I'm really, really excited for these. I know it has to do with dragons, I mean, clearly. And I've heard nothing but good things about this book, and I've had these books for like a really long time, actually, and I just never picked it up. I think I'm also kind of a little bit intimidated, a little bit worried that I'm not going to like it because of how hyped up they are. But no, now that I think about it though, I think I'm going to like it. I love dragons and the fantasy stuff, like as I said before, so I think this is going to be really, really nice. The next 3 books that I want to read are actually in a series. So that is Shadow Falls The Beginning, and this has Born at Midnight and Awake at Dawn in it. The only reason this looks beat up is because I've had this copy since 7th grade. And I read it like in 7th grade, but I completely forgot about it. I never finish the series. So now I definitely want to, and that is why I have the next book. Shadow Falls, the next chapter. This has taken at dusk and whispered at moonrise, and then the last book in the series, Chosen at Nightfall. I definitely plan to reread this and finish it because it's like a supernatural summer camp, so there's witches, werewolves, vampires, things like that, and I think, like, I don't remember a lot, I just remember that part. I think there's more creatures than that, but I just remember really, really loving it. And then the next book that I plan to read by the end of the year is Day Boy by Trent Jameson. I honestly don't know a lot about it. I won this in a Goodreads giveaway. I was kind of just clicking anything, but I think it's like it's a fantasy, and I think it's a little bit horror, which is nice because I don't have a lot of horror stuff. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to read this, and it's not big, so it definitely won't take me long. And then last, The Longest Autumn by Amy Avery. This is an ARC copy, and I don't really know what this one is about either. I won this in a giveaway on Goodreads. It looked really cool. It looked up my alley, like, as far as the cover. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't judge books by their cover when I buy them, but it's kind of a bad habit. I just think there's just something so appealing about having nice books on your shelf, even if they were bad. I'm not saying this is going to be bad, but you know. Okay, so this last question is optional, and it really pertains to whether or not you read this genre. But the question is, what is your favorite manga that you've read so far this year? And for me personally, it would definitely have to be the Attack on Titan Omnibus book 1, I guess, book in the series. And I really, really like this book because I love Attack on Titan, like the TV show. And this is actually the first manga book that I own. Like, all the other mangas that I've read in the past were like library books. I definitely love the omnibus volumes because I feel like they're just going to be easier for me to collect. I only have the first 4, but I plan to buy the rest of the series, at least a little bit this year, and then next year. By next year, I definitely plan to have all of them. But yeah, this was definitely hands down like the best books ever. Like, I remember I devoured the first 4 literally in like a day, like on Christmas, and then I was like, okay, I need to buy more of these, and then I just never did. But yeah, I definitely think about this. I think about this series all the time now. I don't know, it's just something about manga that is just so nice. I don't know, I found that like this year, especially like the past couple months, I found myself really, really liking anime again. Like, I used to love anime all the time, like I just watch it, and then I kind of slowed down when I found K-dramas. That's kind of like my main thing. But lately I've just been wanting to get back into like anime, and I think the mangas are really, really going to help with that, especially because there's just so many. And then I think the next one would definitely have to be Fruit Basket. I don't have a physical copy of that. I read that in my school's library, and I've graduated, so can't really go back. But I really love Fruit Basket. I watched a little bit of the show, but I don't know, it's just something like so cute about the book. I think the book kind of does a better job at like making the characters likable than the show. Maybe that's me. Maybe I need to finish the show and finish the books before I say things like that. But yeah, so Attack on Titan Omnibus 1 and Fruit Basket, hands down. So this has been my mid-year book freakout tag. Here are some of the books that I mentioned previously in the video. If at any point in the video I mentioned a book that you are interested in, a book that you read, a book that you hated, please let me know. I am really excited to like read everyone's comments and stuff. I love doing that. I love talking to everyone, whether it's on shorts or just like normal videos. But yeah, let me know what some of your books are that you included in your book freakout tag. Thank you so much for watching, and please like, share, subscribe, and please stay tuned for more videos because I'm really excited to just keep this channel going. Bye! Next books that I want to read are the Shadow Falls series. So that would be Shadow Falls. What?
Okay.
What? Jesus.